Dishi Shewan Rajumba Yanta Zobe Sanje Rikwa Dan Shazo Demba Devara Chigden Kembe Gebun Dewa Kalo Yurwa Lana Meba Lada Minam Yedumba Sanje Pege Washa Yadu Bala Chasa Lo Chodo Yasu She Jevan Rajumba Yang Tawaran Zobe Sanje Rikwa Shazo Demba Devrash Kimbe Gibun Duve Kalon Yurwa Lana Meba Ladan Minam Gedumba Sanje Chumdende Shaja Duba La Shazano Chodo Yazu Chi Jevan Rajumba Yang Tawaran Zobe Sanje Devara Jevan Jiden Kembe Gibun Duve Kalon Yurwa Nana Meba Deva Shaja Duba La Yudamaze Zajen Dela Gomba Dinfone Dina Choeje Son Teze Keba Kela Shazalo Chodo Susan Wa Ishe Gyaso Serge Bambonda Chaba Jigden Sumna Hame Gombo Chonye Kela Shazalo Chime Dave She Sedon Dawa Kela Shazalo Dede Keda Seba Sumachi Nyame Kenje Kela Shazalo Gombo Duje Che Dembe Kamje Kembe Demba Bo Sena Yende Gyazu Shin Tishin Shela Shazalo Tabi Deja Chewa Yur Geve Nyekon Le Dredim Chujuro Ba Shijuro Chala Shazalo Tune Tuve Lam Yande Lava Tala Rabdu Shinge Tamba Yenden Den Genu Layan Shazalo Shazalo Yuva Chula Shazalo Genu Jela Shazalo Sumla Dalu Tuja Ba Tamche La Xing De Gun Ge Chang Nian Ge Le De Ba Ye Nang Gun Chodo Debe Cha Zan Lo Mi Jia Xin Ge Wa Pu Sun So Bo Ran Je Rang Ge Sem Ne Yong Sun De De Ne Sang Ge Den Ba Dharma Ra Re Ma Me Tang Gyu Ma Se Ba Chu Bo Tang Mi La Lo Tang Tin Ba Duje Chunuma Debrata Sunuma Diye Tamche Sekwa Ye Goban Tone Gyunge Tadu Gada Nada Chive Laprube Sive Solen Drowa Drowara Sho.
Next page, the praise to Manjushri. Oil Hama Doing Gomba Jesu
Me Yamba Sha Ye lo de tenye denda nida namda raseve jinye dungun jije zije nige dugra le panze kanda sebe tura mare medon dumye gezeve chozo gula boje taze yana jojo yandenso Judara Chero Nyamo Nyeno Lege Charo Drozeche Mare Muse Dunge Yugo Jinye Chunze Rejena Dune Tachi Saju Tarsu Yande Nunzo Yesetu Juda Juda Chunyi Gembe Dalu Muse Chambe Yonlandu Senden Gyuye Kera Useki Dalu Timu Mubarasa Gana den ju shun lo to ba ye lo zhe po be nang wa ze du so dong xie me to dama re ra lin xie yin de yan ban di sang jie xin du me de bu wa ye ro ge nam da xin la zhe pa ra shu
Next page, Path of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra.
Aba kunjo sumla cha zalo dige dagi tebe tuji na jumden de gyabe kaba chabu pongbe re la gelong ge genduen chenpo dan chanju senpe genduen chenpo tabji do ju de tien se jumden de same nangwa she chawe chege namrang ge dingen de la nyom para shu yang tien se chanju senpa senpa chenpo papa chen de se wang ju xie rao ji pa re do chen sa me je wa ni la nam ba da chen hong bo nga bo te da la yang rang xin ge dong ba nam ba da de ne sang ji ge tu se dang den ba xia ri bu chang ju sen ba pa ba jin re se wang ju la di ge je me so ri ge pu kang la la xie rao ji pa re do chen ba sa me je ba ju ba de ba ji da la ba ra cha di ge je me ba da chang ju sen ba chen ba pa ba jin re se wang ju se dang den ba xia ri da de pu la di ge je me so xia ri pu ri ge pu mo kang la la xie rao ji pa re Same jeban jeban deban den dedra namba dawa cha de pongbo ngabo de da la ya rang xin ge dong ba namba yang da ba ji su da wo su dong ba ni su le dong ba ni xie ma yin dong ba ni le yang su xie ma yin no de xian do su wa dan du xie du jie da namba ra xie ba nam dong ba wo xie re pu dedra xue tang jie dong ba xin ye me ba ma ye ba ma ga ba ti ma me ba ti ma dan te wa me ba ti wa me ba kang wa she re bo de da ve na dong ba ni la su me zur wa me du she me nam ra she ba me ni me na wa me na me che me lu me yi me su me ta me ti me ru me re ja me che me ni ge kam me ba ne yi ge kam me yi ge nam ra she be kam ye pa do ya me do ma ri ba se ba me ba ne ga xie se be pa do ya me do te xin do du nge wa dang kun zhong wa dang go ba dang lam me yi xie me to ba ma do ba ya me do xie ri pu te da we na chang ju sen pa na to ba me be xie ra ye pa re do xin ba la din jie ne de sim la zhi ba me je da ba me de qin jie lo le xin do den yang ye le de be ta ra xin do tu zum do nam ba shu be sang jie tam jie jiang xie ra ye pa re do xin ba la den ne la na yang da ba ran zo be chang ju do ngam ba ran zo ba sang ye zo de da we na xie ra ye pa re do xin be Rigba jimbe nga lana mebe nga minya bada nyambe nga dunge tamje rabdo shivara chebe nga mezebe na dempara sheba chade shira ge paru do shimbe meba de ata gade para sam gade bodhi soha share bo changju semba pedra shira ge paru do shimba samola labra chao tene tinge Sumden de dingye zen de le shen de changju senpa chenpo pakwa shen re se hongju la lekso she chawa lekso rige po te de shen no rige po te de shen de jidra kyuge tenpa shen do she rab je paru do shenpa samo la chebra Tishin sheba nam yang jizu yirang mo chumden dege je ka zene tsedan denpa sharen da de putan chanju senpa paba jire ze wangju dan tamje dan denpe koron te da dan la dan mi dan tamay tisara jebe jikden yirang de chumden dege sumba la ngambara de to te ya tha gade para sam gade bodhi soha kunjo sungi kaya dembe tongi midebe jo damje chire doba gyuje maba gyuje shiwa gyurunji gire tongda gyaju shiwa midebe gendan dewa dan temban ruje kusum so gyube tashi te gyang tendere dele sho.
Then the refuge and bodhicitta verse on page 14. Page 14.
Sanje chedan soye chamala chanju padu nane jesuche dage cheche kebe sananje drola menje sanje droba sho sanje chedan soye chamala chanju padu nane jesuche dage cheche kebe sananje drola menje sanje droba sho sanje chedan soye chamala Dani yazunje, dagi chuchi kibe sonanje, drola penche sanje drola sho. Ladan lame medame wanje, ungodan gyajin ladon chuge chola chawa cheba, sanje sumba rabdo shishin. Dewe gyurun gyuban teta shige tambe chunye chinen dire sheshe namo ta yeke dan ludan nijinge chubun tada mi yeke nandan drowa kunge ranam jizamba. tam제게 돈다게 최된도 관계 땡진 저거 좀 가봐매봐 깨매봐 제봐매봐 빠매봐 오와매봐 drö매봐 다들 되면 된지면 저번 예시 시대만 노베 선제 만남기 담바텔라 사체로 오케이. So we will continue our learning on wisdom chapter and generally in many of the Buddha's teaching. It's working or not? Okay. Too loud. All right. Okay. In many of the Buddha's teaching, Buddha taught wisdom as the one of the most important factor. And why it is so important? Because we all wanted to be happy and we all wanted to free from suffering. And so then, like, how can we actually be free from suffering? What is the cause of the suffering? Then mainly when we actually analyze where is the suffering coming from? And there should be. Suffering is just like it doesn't appear magically, right? It doesn't appear, or we don't experience suffering without any cause. So somehow there should be a cause. So because there is a cause for the suffering, and then like what are the causes? And many times our causes are like their main kind of like three causes that Buddha actually mentioned. One is attachment, and second one is anger or hatred, and then the third one is the ignorance. And so basically these, like as long as we have a very strong attachment and very strong kind of like a detachment. I think sometimes anger is a little bit of too strong word. hatred and anger. Maybe it is part of that, but it is like a detached, sort of like a disconnecting, or another word for that is kind of like avoiding, right? So there's kind of like we have this kind of like a strong pull towards something that we think it is very good, right? Something that is very good, then what happens is kind of we are pulled towards that. And then something that is kind of we believe or we think that something that is not good, then what happens is we try to kind of avoid, right? We try to kind of disconnect from them, detach from them. So somehow, like generally, like there should be, right? There should, like, if something that we like or something that we don't like, that is kind of natural. But attachment, meaning that if our kind of like likeness go little bit more sort of like unrealistic way. So that is the good way to explain, because like if something that you like unrealistically, right, or something that is too much, like we always say in English, too much is too bad, right? It is like anything that is we do, whatever we do, something that is too much, then it is always become too bad. So that is why like something that we kind of like that is useful or something, then our attachment somehow kind of go a little bit over the limit. And why? Because there is something beyond our kind of like a concept that we kind of we project the object that we like. We make a lot of story around it, sort of like a lot of story and a lot of expectation. And so somehow like we like something, but our likeness is not just staying in just like, so we kind of become a lot of expectation. Sort of, for example, if you like something and then we put a lot of projection to that object, and then we expect too many things. So we kind of like, we want many things from that object, and then like what happens is we get disappointed, or we get frustration if something that we expect we don't get it. And so somehow, so that is the like high expectation is like from the Buddhist point of view, we say that that is the attachment. And then there is a sort of like a detachment is a more sort of like a fear, because the object that we actually see that we don't like it, and we somehow we put a lot of story again around that kind of like our mind will make a lot of story. Okay, this is not good because of this, because of that, because of this, and so many information behind it that we put a lot of story around it. And then somehow we kind of like we do too much of avoiding thing, too much avoiding, and then somehow when we create a lot of story around the object that we don't like, then what happens is we kind of like get a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, right? It's just kind of like a lot of sort of we afraid. So it's kind of like we chase, that is the coming from the attachment, and we run away from it because of the detachment. So these are the two main causes. And then like these two main causes of our suffering, where actually it is coming from? Where is it? So there should be some cause. Maybe there's a root cause of all this suffering, or root cause of all this attachment and all this hatred and anger. Then like Buddha came up with this kind of like a saying that ignorance means not knowing, so not understanding the truth. So that is why ignorance is the root cause of all the suffering. And then what is the solution? What is the solution for that cause? Like the question is it possible? Like is it possible that we can overcome from suffering, and we can actually stop all the causes of the suffering, and we can actually stop our ignorance? Then the good news is actually yes. Yes, because like if we can all actually overcome the ignorance. And how can we overcome the ignorance? How can we actually stop the cause? Is by generating wisdom. See now, wisdom, like you can see that wisdom is most important, right? Like wisdom is the most important thing if we want to get rid of suffering, or if we want to free from suffering, if we want to be happy. So there is a very strong connection between becoming happy and understanding the truth. So this is very they are well connected. And sometimes, I don't know, maybe like when the wisdom goes in a little bit higher, right? In the higher, like if some of you are understanding about the Vajrayana, right? In the Vajrayana, like it's mainly talking about non-dual wisdom, right? The non-dual wisdom. So meaning that, so like the understanding, right? Understanding the truth. So understanding the truth. When we understand the truth, truth is an object, right? The mind or the wisdom that understand is the subject or observer. So there's like, you can see, there's an object and there's an observer. So when we actually look at the flower, like when we look at the flower, that flower is an object. And the one who is looking, observing the flower become an observer, right? So we observe flower using our like eye sense, right? We use our eye sense, and then we see the shape of the color, shape of the flower and the color of the flower, and then somehow it goes into like mentally, like we label it by saying that, okay, that is the flower, right? That's the flower. And then somehow we kind of like, we observe the flower like with our physical sense as well as our mental sense. So like that is why we become, right? The person who is looking at the flower become an observer. So it is like when we look at that, what do you think? There is a big, right? There is actually a big separation, right? There's a big separation gap between the object and the observer, right? Like object is there and observer is here, right? So there is a huge dual. Dual means separation. So there's a huge dual kind of like a gap between there. So somehow when we actually truly understand the true nature of the flower, then the observer and the object somehow they dissolve the duality. It is just kind of like somehow the observer become a flower and the flower become an observer. So that is called the non-duality. So somehow that is like if we talk from the highest Yoga Tantra point of view, maybe I'm just putting this here. Some of you are aware of this kind of like in the highest Yoga Tantra, Dedon Yerme means bliss, emptiness, non-duality. What is the connection between bliss, like a joy, and wisdom? So somehow when you actually truly understand the true nature then of the object, the observer actually kind of like become non-dual. So disappear. So when it like when the when the duality disappear, then there is a like it is just kind of you reach the ultimate point. You reach the peak of the understanding. So when you reach the peak of the understanding, then what happens is you get so much joy, happiness. So that is why yesterday we were talking about why we as a sentient being, why we are always looking for the truth. We want to know the truth, right? This question is like in our mind that we always searching, like we are truth seeker as well as we are happiness seeker. And there should be some connection between like a happiness seeker and the truth seeker, right? So many times, like because we are searching for the truth, and sometimes it kind of goes in the wrong direction. Why? Because as a truth seeker, then the people actually, when they are searching too much for the truth from a philosophical point of view, if we kind of too much depending on that logic and the philosophical view, what happens is then you become sort of like trying to prove you are right. That is actually a wrong way of seeking the wisdom. Okay, when you are actually when you are seeking a wisdom, and if you are sort of like if your kind of nature is becoming more sort of like trying to prove right, and I think that is what many times one of the biggest problem in this our mind, right? We all wanted to be right. Everybody said I am right, my way is the right way, and what other people is they are wrong. And then many times we put a lot of time and effort trying to prove ourselves right, and then at the end of even though you are right, then what do you get? Like you get sort of like, okay, a lot of people will not like you. Right? Then it is just like you become so kind of isolated from everybody. So that is why seeking wisdom is not that you are trying to prove yourself right. Okay, so that is totally two different things. You don't have to actually, no matter what other people think you are right or other people think you are wrong, then what does it matter? The most important thing is you yourself has to have a confidence, right? That yes, I am right, and I don't need any proof from other people that I'm right. So that kind of confidence is called wisdom. Okay, so when you have a true wisdom, when you have a real wisdom, then you are not seeking other people's approval, and that is sometimes in our day-to-day life, we do that sort of we do a lot of waste of time and energy, right? Just to get approval. And then if you are searching for the approval from other person, then it become a kind of quantity of people, right? The quantity of then it is kind of not realistic. Because you go on trying to get approval from one person, then somehow you have to get approval from 7 billion people in this world. Right? So is that realistic? It is not realistic. People, there are 7 billion people in this world, and many of them, maybe they will say you are wrong. Does it matter? If you think you are right, it doesn't matter, right? So that is why sometimes wisdom is something that you experience the truth of yourself and the truth of an object, of the truth of life, actually, truth of the world, truth of the universe. And also one thing about the truth of the universe is that from the Buddhist point of view, Buddha actually said that you don't have to know everything to understand the true nature of everything. Just kind of if you know the true nature of one thing, you know the true nature of everything. Because everything is made out of same entity. Everything is made out of same entity. And these days, even if you look at, there are many actually physicists, right? Or what do you call, quantum physics, experiment people, the scientists, what they are actually coming up is saying that, yes, that is kind of true. Every single material in this world, if you go into the source of what is made out of, everything is same, right? This cup and this table looks separate, right? They are kind of it's shaped different. It is now if you go into the source of this cup, And then you go into the source of this table. Then, where it is where it is all made up, somehow it is same. They are like a source is same, right? So it's just kind of manifested into different form and different shape. So that is kind of like from a Buddhist point of view, also saying that every single thing in the universe actually the sources is same. So the sources actually goes into the truth of emptiness. That it is the one common thing about everything is that nothing exists inherently. So nothing exists inherently. Another meaning for that, in Tibetan we say rangana druba, rangshingi druba. Rangshin means kind of like itself. Rang means self. So like nothing is nothing exists by itself. Why? What is the reason? Nothing exists by itself because everything exists by it depending on the other things. So for example, like east and west. So east and west are actually totally dependable, right? East exists because there is a west, and the west exists because there is an east. So everything, that's just an example. That's just an example. Everything, single thing, somehow it is all dependent origin. Dependent origin means everything, they are just kind of like connected to each other and dependent to each other. So somehow nothing is really exists from itself. So but our ignorance mind, what happened? Our ignorance mind always kind of like perceive, right? Also kind of like conceive that everything exists as it appears, right? Okay, you see something good, then it appears good in your mind. Immediately, we actually project that, okay, it is good. And so it is good, and not only just good, somehow our mind will say it is very good. Not only very good, it's like very, very, very good. Right? So that is kind of like how we actually, our mind see it. That's something that we like. And that causes attachment. And that brings a lot of suffering. And something that we also look at things, say, okay, this is bad, and this person is bad. And somehow when we look, that's not just bad, it is very bad. Right? Very bad. So then sort of like you just kind of generate some, like you will have some kind of emotion towards that. And because of that, you will also bring a lot of suffering. So why it is like, why we think that, we go actually sort of like over the limit of good and bad. So there's like a very, like our mind becomes so judgmental, right? We become kind of like a good and bad, sort of like it's like things that we always judge based on how we see, how we hear, how we smell, how we taste, right? And how it feels, the sensation. And then how we actually think, how kind of like a different notion, like ideas. So we kind of become very entangled into the appearance, right? Appearance, and then the appearance become very important. So somehow, here in this chapter, in the wisdom chapter, Master Shantideva, what is he saying is, when you are understanding the truth, there are two truths. So these two truths is, one is called the relative truth, and another one is called the ultimate truth. So the relative truth is the appearance of the mind, and then the ultimate truth is something beyond the appearance, the existence. So appearance, existence. So sometimes I give this kind of like a analogy example. It will make us understand a little bit on the kind of like the appearance nature and the existent nature. Like for example, we all know that when we are looking at the full moon, right? When we are looking at the full moon, and if you honestly ask that person, like you are looking at the moon, and there's a full moon. So what is the appearance of the moon? Just kind of like if I ask, then the appearance of the moon is, what is the size of the moon that it appears to you? Just that is like a simple, right? What is the size of medium-sized pizza, right? That is pretty much this medium-sized pizza we see looking at the moon, right? And then how does it appears to you? Like when you see the moon, does it looks like a ball, or does it like a flat like a pizza? Okay, pretty much like a flat like a pizza, right? We don't see it like a ball. And then sort of like because like look at that. Now, so the reality, the existence of the moon. What do you think? What is the size of the moon? What is the size of the moon is totally much bigger, because the more you go closer to the moon, the more bigger you can see. We are like, because of the distance that we are a little bit far, we see the moon this much size. But the size, the medium-sized pizza moon that appears in your eyes, what do you think? Is that a moon or no? That's a big question, right? Is that a moon or no? So you can say, I see the moon, I see the full moon, the size of the medium-sized pizza. But in reality, it is not at all. It is not at all that size. So where is that size, that moon that we see? Does that exist? Or we're just making it up? Right? So appearance. Now this is the appearance we are talking about. Because appearance is there are so many different appearances, right? For example, even when you look at peoples, right? If the person is so far away, like if you're looking from the aeroplane, you're looking down, there are cars, right? They look like a small toy car. And then you see these people going in the, from the very high up, you look at those people, they look like ants walking. So that's not the real size of the people, right? But we can see appear in our mind, in our eyes that much. So that doesn't mean that they are this much size. So the same thing. So then the question is, do we really see the moon? Or we're just seeing something? Because in reality, moon is not small like that. Moon is just a very huge one. But we cannot go against the nature. Well, the truth is that, yes, you see the moon, but not necessarily whatever you see is the moon. So it doesn't have to be the real moon. So, like, if you look at that way, then it's kind of like you can understand the true truth a little bit in a kind of in a mundane way. In the mundane, sort of like, this is not the deep understanding of the wisdom. This is just a very mundane, like something that if I explain to you, you all will kind of get that. But somehow, normally you will not investigate like that. Your mind will not investigate. You will not analyze that way. It's just kind of, okay, so somebody will say, did you see the full moon today? And we just say, yes, I see it. And that's it, right? We don't kind of like analyze it. Okay, so what is the size of the moon that you see? And you see the light coming out of the moon, and that is also appearance. In reality, there is no light, right? It is just the sun heating the moon, and that is why we think that is like one kind of ball, like a what do you call ball, right? Like a balloon filled with the light or something like that. So this is just kind of like, think that is the example, because if we understand from a mundane level of okay, there is a difference between appearance and existence, and it is surely does. It is nothing to do with the religion, right? It is not that Buddhist people will only see that much moon and the other religion people will not see. All of us, right, who have an eye, we actually see the same. But that is kind of appearance, and that is what when we are understanding the truth, somehow Buddha understands the truth. So he was actually saying, this is the truth. Truth is that nothing exists, sort of like by itself, not inherently. And that is like if you believe and if you kind of like conceive that everything that you see is something true, then you will have a lot of problem. You will have a lot of trouble. There will be so many unnecessary problems. These all unnecessary problem that is happening in our life, somehow it is coming from this view, right? Because we have this very strong view that everything we see is true. Everything that we see is sort of like a valid. But like that is why wisdom, to understand the wisdom, so you have to understand, okay, there is an appearance, there's something that appears, but then there is an existence. So then if we go into the existence, like for example, even you understand the true nature of the moon, somehow you don't have to understand everything. They are all made out of same thing. Like everything is all, what do you call? Sources is emptiness. So if you understand the emptiness of one thing, means like if you understand the emptiness of one thing, you understand the emptiness of everything. So, that is why like the wisdom is the understanding the emptiness nature and the true nature of a thing. So here, like again, when we actually say true nature of thing, like sometime for your mind, if it is like object like flower, then you can actually, okay, that is like you can analyze it. And many times what is more useful is if you kind of bring the object of yourself. So for example, I am, right? We always say I am. And somehow this I am is very important, right? It is very important. It's just kind of like how many time from the morning until we go to sleep, how many time even in our words we are using, right? I want this, I want that, I'm thinking this, I did this, I went there, and then it's also kind of like a me, right? Somebody said to me this, they did to me this, me, I, me, right? Sort of like so this kind of object of I is somehow very important to us, for all of us, because in the whole universe, when we look, what is the most important thing in the whole universe is we always think, of course, me, right? Everybody, kind of like everything should revolve around me, right? Everything should revolve around me, and we actually think that I am the center of the universe, right? I am the center of the whole existence. So that is why in the Buddhism, like what Buddha actually say is that when you are trying to understand the truth, first try to understand the truth of who you are, what you are. So many times that kind of like analyzing, because we have to think, okay, I always think that I am me, and I think this is very important, and then we have to analyze who is that I? Who is that I? Is that my physical body? It is kind of like, if we go realistically, ask this question, right? Honestly, sort of like, who is this body? This body is me? Then it is like, of course it is part of me, but it is not me, right? It's just one big part of me. But then like, okay, so I am not my body. I have a body. Body is part of me. But then if you go okay, so now who am I? If I'm not the body, then who am I? Then we go into feelings, emotion, right? So like beyond our body, what do we have? We have so many feelings, right? This like I feel this, I felt this, I'm happy, I'm not happy, sort of like I am, sort of like we actually put this I am sort of like identifying with our emotions, right? Emotion, sort of like many times if you are angry, how do we actually say, I am very angry, right? So when you are angry and then how you are identifying yourself at that time, you are actually identifying yourself with your own anger. So, for example, if somebody hurts your body and then, he or she hurt me, that time you are identifying yourself with your body. It's like almost like I am my body. And then, like with the emotion, we also say I am angry. I am, I feel so good. I am good, right? Sort of like I am happy. I'm sad. Sort of like see how we take that I am into many different things. But in reality, I am also not emotion. I'm not feeling, right? Then if we go a little bit further, understanding, okay, what is there beyond my feelings, beyond this all emotion, then there is a idea, right? Thoughts, sort of like, I think this, I think that, this is how it is, like I am thinking. So there's like a lot of thoughts and stories. I always say story. Story is a good way to, because we have so many stories in our head, right? A story about our life, story about other people. And these all stories are in our head, in our mind. It just kind of like, so these all the thoughts and so there's a whole another dimension of ourself that is called the mental dimension. So it is like there's so many different thoughts. So this mental dimension, again, if we go, am I that mind? Am I the one who I think I am? So this is like now the idea. And many times people stuck there. Many times people stuck there because what we are actually working is we always trying to build happiness on the idea of self. So like we constructed one idea. We constructed idea of who I am. And we get so attached to that idea, right? It's just kind of like who I am. There is from since I was a child until now, I have this idea of who I am. And this who I am is very important. And definitely many times we are identifying ourselves with the idea of ourselves. But then again, the idea of self is not I, right? Like if I give you a simple example, like if I say right now, you should have an idea of an apple. And everybody, you can think of an apple, right? Right now, there is an idea of an apple in your head. So now what do you think? There's the idea of an apple in your head. Do you think that is an apple? Is it a real apple? Anybody can eat that apple? Right? So I just kind of generally I said apple. Maybe some in some of your mind it is a golden apple. Maybe some it's a red apple. Some maybe it's a Fuji apple. Some Royal Gala apple. Right? So like anyway, whatever is in your mind, it is just an idea of an apple. And that idea of an apple is not a real apple. It's just an idea. It's just in your imagination. But how we deal with it? We deal it with like, okay, that is real apple. We think of it as a real apple. That actually applies with many things in our life. When we think of someone, we are not with that person. We are in a different place. and the person who you love or person you hate is far away, but you are sitting in your living room. It's the person who is bothering you, the person who you don't like, and that comes in your mind. Right? That comes in your mind, and that is the idea of that person now. And that is the idea of the person, and then we will imagine so many things. Okay, this person must be doing this, must be saying this or doing this, and it affects us. Somehow we make it affect us. And it's almost like a real. But maybe in reality that person is not even thinking about you. Right? He or she is busy with something else. Right? Just kind of, but in our mind, in our idea, they are doing so many things. And it bothers. We get more and more angry with the person, the more you think of that person who you don't like, and, remembering everything, what he or she did, what or he said, or whatever, or maybe they're plotting some plan to do, all these things and everything. It is like in our imagination. So in imagination, this is happening. And then our brain and our self, we take it as a real. We get angry, we get bothered by that, but reality, you should not be bothered by that, right? We should not be bothered by that because it is just an idea. It's just idea, So see, that is the good to another wisdom to understand that way. So that is why when we actually think of the idea of self, so from this example, we can actually understand that I have an idea of self, but that idea of self is also not me. Why should I get too attached to it? Why should I too much, this idea of self is very funny, right? When we become so pessimistic about that, the idea of self gets sick, and many times it dies. And then, this idea of self got into accident, and it got into some many difficult situations, but really nothing is happening. It is only happening in your mind. The idea of self is going through. So when the idea of this self is going through a lot of trouble, a lot of suffering, and then we feel it. Why? Because we think they are same. Because we think the idea of self is me, this person. And we don't differentiate it. We don't think that. So this is another wisdom. So that is why when we go actually taking object as a self, I am. I am not body, I am not emotion, I am not my thoughts, I am not my idea. Then is there all something or more than that? There's another dimension of where we actually feel? Yes, there is. There's all this kind of what you call energy level, right? Energy, or sort of from Buddhist point of view, we kind of say the karmic level is more sort of like karmic force, like a karma force. So that is there is a kind of force behind our thoughts. And maybe all these thoughts are coming from all this different karma, because of all this force is actually forcing us to have all these ideas, right? And so that is so then if there is also way to go a little bit beyond that too. What is beyond all this karmic force that I am carrying? Because somehow the karma or the force that we are, somehow it is, there is a storage, right? There's a storage. So somehow the consciousness, right? We call it consciousness. The consciousness is where all the karma, not only from this life, many from past life, it is all kind of stored in there in the form of seed, potential. So somehow in our consciousness, there are so many karma, so many potential, that potential to be happy, potential to be suffering, it's like a miserable, potential to be sort of loving, potential to be angry. So all these forces are there within our consciousness. So if we go beyond, then even like from the Master Shantideva point of view, even the, when you identify yourself with the consciousness, again, that is not you. Your consciousness is not you. Why? Because it is very clear, right? When you address consciousness, how do you address? You are saying my consciousness. See, there's somebody owner there. This consciousness is owned by somebody, right? So then, like when we go beyond that, who is the owner? Right? Who is the owner? That, like, we always have this ownership, right? Ownership kind of thing, that my body, my feeling, my idea, my karma, right? And my consciousness. Then what is this my? Who is saying this my? Is that something else there? So now from here, many different religious tradition actually goes into different ways. Because sometime, they there is a kind of self, like as a Atma, permanent, one, and independent, sort of like a something. There is a ancient, like a Vedic tradition, right? In the ancient India Vedic tradition, there is a very strong philosophy of kind of having an Atma. So then, kind of like if the self, from their point of view, Atma is permanent. And there is a lot of point for that, actually. Because if there is why do they say that Atma is permanent? Because it is permanent because it always, there. It is always there. Even though, it was in your past life, and in your past life, say for example, you are a woman, and that Atma is there, and that Atma is not a man or woman. Maybe during that time, that Atma become a woman because, it has a woman's body. But then this consciousness goes to the next life, maybe that consciousness will have a male body. So that time, the consciousness actually is, in the form of male, but then again, the Atma doesn't become male, Atma doesn't become female. But, why do they come up with this statement is because of the karma. If it is not permanent, they have a very strong point for that. If they are not same, for even we don't have to go to past life, we can go to this life even, right? A child, adult, and old. So, for example, some like a adult, right? Adult, somebody who is like 18 years old, do something, and then, he was caught when he was 25, right? When he's 25. So now, in reality, the crime that actually did by the person is the 18 years old one. But the punishment is carried by the 25 years one. But we all say that person did it. That's why he deserved. He deserved this punishment. So there is like from the 18 years old, 25 years old, but there is something that unchangeable remaining, some entity, right? Some entity. If there is no permanent self in that, then how can you establish the karma? That's their point. Like it is like the karma that is did by some other person, then, it is the consequences of that karma is experienced by some other people, if it is changing one. So that is why there is a lot of points. So it is just kind of going into the sidetrack. Not really. So anyway, understanding the true nature of self is very important, because the more you understand the true, then especially the relative truth and the ultimate truth of self, the appearance and the existence, and So the more actually we understand what is the existence of myself, what is the existence of myself. And if you understand the emptiness nature, that not inherently exist nature of self, then that is called the understanding the truth. Okay, so that wisdom, I think Master Shantideva actually saying here. So anyway, we are actually going a little bit into the text. So in text, sometime if you are not so familiar with this, some of the Buddhist philosophy, it will be a little challenging. But just kind of like if you kind of little bit hear of the Master Shantideva's teaching, which is the Buddha's teaching, and like even though you don't understand every single thing of this text, I think somehow it will leave some good imprints in your consciousness. So in another words, like good karma. And maybe this time you don't understand fully, but somehow it will leave some imprints in you that in the future it will, maybe not even if you don't understand this life, then in the future life, maybe we will understand it a little bit more clearer. So we will go a little bit into the text, and everybody has the handout, and we are on this number. What number we are on?
9.
Okay. So in the Tibetan translation of the Shantideva's work, it says that number 9. Gyudre gele sunam ne jidarngui la jishin kade semjen gyudana shine jidar keshena. So this is number 9, which is in the question form, right? So if you go into the page number 3, and so number 9 is the answer to the question. So this question comes, the question is, if all phenomena were not truly existent, so things are not truly existent, then since the Buddha too would be false, like a Buddha will be not truly existent, right? Would no merits occur from worshipping him? So why should we worship Buddha if Buddha is like an illusion? So, Shantideva answer, it is okay in the same way, because truly existent merit occurs in their own philosophy, right? From worshipping the truly existed conqueror Buddha. Similarly, for us, for the Prasangika school, in the Shantideva school, illusion-like merits are obtained from worshipping the illusion-like conqueror. So here, illusion-like conqueror means Buddha. So it is like somehow Buddha said that everything is like an illusion. I am like an illusion. This table is like an illusion, and this room is like an illusion, and you are like an illusion. So everything is like an illusion. So there is a very deep meaning for saying that it is like an illusion. So because why it is like illusion? Earlier I was explaining to you, because in the illusion, right? For example, in the magic, right? In the magic, if somebody kind of magically make something, right? So like they turn the flower into turn the flower into a bird, but in the reality, the flower cannot turn into into a bird. But magician will do that, right? It will make you see, appears. So see, that is what everything appears something, then exists something. That is why everything is like an illusion. So even our good karmas are like an illusion, and then Buddha is like also illusion. So when you actually do the worshipping, like a prostration and things to Buddha, so the person who is doing is also like an illusion. So then the karma or merits that whatever they get is also like an illusion. So that is very simple answer, right? And then question. So question is, but if sentient beings were like an illusion, so all the sentient beings are like an illusion, then after they die, how would they be reborn? That is another question, right? So for this answer, Master Shantideva said in the 10th verses, Jisi kenam so yoba, tesi yuma juma jur, yurin samgi jitana simjen dembar yomayi. So, answering in the number 10, he said, for as long as the necessary conditions are assembled, for that long, even illusion will occur. So, illusion will also, example, illusion, as long as there is a cause to have the illusion, you will have the, illusion. Same thing, illusion like sentient beings will die, when they face the death, they face that illusion like death. And then when they be reborn, they again reborn as an illusion like. So this is a kind of like a simple. And although they are unreal, they are similar to sentient beings in the fact that they arise from condition. Why merely by their longer duration should sentient beings be more real than illusion? So then, after Shantideva answered that, so they have a doubt, saying that it is not, example, illusion is not a correct here. Why? Because sentient beings are remaining for a long time, like for the limitless time. And illusion is just like during the magic, right? During the illusion time, it will also only remain. So it is a short. The sentient being is like they remain for a very long time, and then just because of the duration, like a longer duration and shorter duration, you cannot say that it is not a good example. So here it is saying that then it will follow that illusion that last a long time are more real than those that last a short time, right? Some illusion, they last very long, and so it's kind of like a simple answer. So then question is, nevertheless, if this were the case, would not the killing of sentient being by another sentient being and killing of an illusory person by another illusory person be equivalent evils? So these are the question, because now if the sentient being are like, the persons are like an illusion, then in the illusion, in the example illusion, like you magic, like in the magic you make two people appear, and then the illusion person kill the another illusion person. It's not a real killing, right? It's not a real killing. It is just an illusion. So he's the question is saying that, so in real life also, when illusion like person kill the another illusion like person, is that okay? Does that not a bad karma? Sort of like question is coming like that, okay? So, and would not charity between sentient beings and charity between illusory people be equivalent virtues? So not only killing. So for example, if they are kind enough, right, sort of like doing charity to each other, that isn't that a virtue? Other one is a non-virtue, like that's question. So then Shantideva answer in the number 11. So, because an illusory person who kills or gives something to another illusory person has no mind, so no evil or virtues occurs from his action. Whereas if such action are committed by sentient being endowed with the illusion-like mind, since the agent has a mind which can be love and hate, merits and evil do occur from his action. So this is number 11. Then number 12 is saying that so namla numechir gumese ne jungame nazo kele jungwa guma te nazo ni kenji kini kun nuba kana ya ne yomayi. So this answer is saying that because the mantra and so forth that cause illusion do not have the ability to produce mind, so somehow even the illusion, like the cause of the illusion, whatever trick or whatever spell they are using. So, but this spell, mantra, and this, kind of anything illusion doesn't have a, ability to create a mind. Create a mind. So that is why it is a different illusion, like illusion-like sentient beings have a mind, illusion-like mind. That's what he's saying. So that is why illusory minds are not produced from them, whereas the cause from sentient beings do have the ability to produce mind. Although false, even though it is not real, the different illusion that result depends upon different causes. In this way, the illusion that arise from a variety of different conditions also vary. They are produced from different causes, but number 13, saying so then it also brings another doubt for them. So the doubt is that if ultimately all sentient beings are by nature in the state beyond sorrow, so this is kind of like if everything is not inherently exist, that means rangshi nyangde means it is like naturally they are pure, right? Naturally pure. If the sentient beings are naturally pure, that is what he's saying. Although deceptively they are in cyclic existence, then for the same reasons, number 14 is the answer. So kenam gyuni machena gyuma do one yushi. Kenam gyuni chebana kunzo mijungos. So since in terms of appearance the Buddha would be in cyclic existence, what would be the use of Bodhisattva way of life? So that's why it is saying that if you are actually sort of if you are pure, right? That is what it is saying. Little bit like in a way sort of what you call Buddha nature, right? We all have a Buddha nature. So like our nature is pure. Then if our nature is pure, then why do we have to practice? That's what he's saying. Because we are pure by nature. We all have a Buddha nature. Then why do we have to practice? Why do we have to? So this is the question. So answer that. Shantideva said, if their conditions are not discontinued, even illusion will not cease to be. Because there is a cause. Because we have ignorance. And the ignorance is a cause. Ignorance will create a lot of illusion-like appearance. So, likewise, since sentient beings have not discontinued the condition for cyclic existence, they are in cyclic existence. So then, number 15, it says that kanze chulba yomena gyuma kange mi gyuma kanze kyolon gyuma ni mena teze chishi mi. So this is actually now coming the kind of like a little bit Chitra Matran kind of like it is coming to. So since the Buddha has discontinued this condition, even deceptively he does not exist with the nature of one in cyclic existence, right? And then refuting the objection of the Chitra Matran. So there is a different school, Chitra Matran school, mind-only school. So concerning the ultimate truth. So these are like maybe a little bit difficult for some of you because you have to understand some of the basic philosophical view of the mind-only school. So if I tell you little bit of mind-only school, right? The mind-only school. So somehow mind-only school is a very actually interesting philosophical theory. Because they actually say that nothing exists outside of the mind. Okay, nothing exists outside of the mind. Everything, right? Everything that we see, like in Tibetan we say "Chiru Tendo Madruba," means nothing exists outside. Chiru means outside. So it is like, for example, we look at this cup. So this cup is looks like, right? It looks like it is outside our mind, but it is actually not outside our mind. It is just in our mind. So, somehow, then the question is, we are all looking at this cup. You are looking, we all are looking at this cup, and then how come, we all come to this one common thing, and then Chitra Mataram said, no, it's okay, we have a common karma. So it's a kind of like we all have a common karma. So like our karma kind of like somehow, but whatever you are seeing is I'm not seeing. So whatever you are seeing is I'm not seeing. Whatever I'm seeing is you're not seeing. So it actually makes a lot of sense. For example, like when we look at the color blind people, right? The color blind, and even I don't know, sometimes when we look at the blue, and we all come up to this same common we all agree together that if there is something kind of like a blue, and so we just give the name blue for that, right? Or there's something like a yellow, and that's like we say, okay, this is a yellow. But then we all come up with so whatever I see the yellow, do you see that we all see exactly same or not? I don't think so, right? Like for example, the color blind people, like so someone who is a color blind, like they are color blind for the green, and looking at the same, so somehow the the common mutual agreement, like if there's 10 people looking and one is a color blind, and maybe he's looking at the same green one, but he will say that's not green, right? That is different else. So, and that is kind of like his eyes is conditioned to see that different color. So even the same color will change, right? If there is like a white piece of paper, and if I put the red light, right, in the room, then if I show you this paper, what is the color of this paper, and you will say it is a red, because you will see it as a red. And if I change the color into green, then again this will change into green, right? So it is kind of like what we see is different. I think everybody sees different, and so that is why, if it is for the color, if it is that way, then why don't it work with the cup? So cup, like however I see the cup, I will see it as how my karma allow me to see it, right? And you will see this cup however your karma. So that is why there are things that sometimes people don't experience, right? People don't experience what they that is why nothing exists outside of the mind. So that is the main kind of Chitra Matra and mind only school say that. So this actually it will come more detail into that. Okay, so how does the Shantideva refuting the kind of Chitra Matran view here? So Chitra Matran, the mind only school, are the followers of the idealist mind only school of Mahayana Buddhism, who maintain that no external object exists. For them, the mind is not conditioned by an object of a different nature than itself. Rather than mind and its object are one in nature. Sungzi Zeshin Meba. Sungzi means Sungwa means object, Zimba means observer, Zeshin Meba means they are not separate. So it is like a one substance. The mind, whatever the mind is made of, that the object is also made out of that material. So mind and matter, like the mind and matter are same substance. So rather the mind has its object and the nature and are nominally distinct. The mind is regarded as truly existent. So, but from their point of view, then they say that okay, external things are not exist inherently. It is only in your mind, but mind exists. So that's their problem. Mind exists inherently. There's like the mind is there. So the mind is the real one. The mind, if there is no mind, then there's nothing. So they actually think that the mind is regarded as the truly existent, whereas external objects are denied. To establish the true existence of consciousness, they post self-cognition, the non-deceive object of mind, and that has the function of being conscious of only consciousness itself. So the consciousness, so from their point of view also, they have a namshe tsoge, generally in many of the Buddhist school, they only talk about 5 consciousness or 6 consciousness, right? 6, like the 6 consciousness are like the 5 consciousness that is related to the physical sense. So they call it like eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, and then tongue, taste consciousness, and then sensation like body consciousness. Those are the physical, like a dependent consciousness. And then the 6th consciousness is what we call the mental consciousness. Okay, so mental consciousness. That is in the general Buddhist school, they believe like that. But Chitaramatran, in many of the Chitaramatran school, I think all Chitaramatran same. They talk means they believe or they establish 8 consciousness. Okay, 8 consciousness. So 6 is the same. The 6th mental consciousness they call it, and then the 7th one is called the Nui. Nui means a delusional mind. So there is another mind. Is called the delusional mind, and then the 8th one is called the Kunshi. Kunshi means all base, sort of like all base. So that is actually the main. Like a Kunshi is the main. That Kunshi consciousness, all base consciousness, is the ultimate person. So when they identify what is the person, they identify that Geba Yigi Namshe, which is the 8. What do you call the all base consciousness is the person. So they actually they say that there are 8 consciousness. So anyway, so these are just the basic kind of like overview of what is the Chitaramatran school belief, mind only school belief. Okay. So now this question coming, Chitaramatran, like the mind only school people asking the Shantideva. So this question is coming: if no deceived consciousness exists, then what mind can refer to the illusion-like appearance? So Chitaramatran is saying that I think it is on 15 or 16. 16. Okay, here is a 15 in my Tibetan.
It's the second half of 15.
Okay, if the mind, that delusional mind, if there is a deceptive mind, if there is no mind is not, self exists, right? Then if there is no mind, then there will be no deceptive mind too, right? And so then how can you say, who will see the illusion like, The illusion like is, observed by something, right? So then there is no illusion like because there is no observer mind, in reality. That's what it is saying. So then Madhyamika answered that so I think that's the same question. If no deceived consciousness exists, then what mind can refer to the illusion-like appearance? So the Madhyamika answer, but if illusion-like external objects are not real for you, what can be referred to? So number 16 is Kade Tinyi Tu Shen Yu, number 10 is Sim Nyi, Kanze Sim Nyi Gumana, Teze Kanshi Kange Tong. So this is kind of like a you are also you are saying that nothing exists externally, right? It is all in your mind. So you don't actually say that external things doesn't exist. So like if the external thing doesn't exist, then how can you see the externals? How can you see? That is kind of like a Madhyamika is kind of refuting by their own logic, okay? And then what is that? The Chitaramatran said, although external objects do not really exist, consciousness does only exist. Therefore, since the image of object which appear to consciousness are the mind itself, they are suitable to be referred to by consciousness. See, now they answer like that, okay? So it is okay because the consciousness is there, and then consciousness is seen by consciousness. So that is a little bit kind of big debate in the, big debate. So Madhyamika said, if the mind itself and the illusion-like object are one substance, then since there will be no beholder and no behold, what object will be beheld by mind? By what mind? It has been said by the protector of the world, Buddha, himself, that the mind does not have ability to behold the mind. That is he is quoting from the Buddha teaching. Just as the example is, just as the blade of sword cannot cut itself, likewise the mind cannot behold itself. So this is actually a big question. So for the Chittamataran. So Chittamataran say that, okay, it is okay because the consciousness is there, then, the external objects are not actually there outside, but it exists inside the mind. Why? Because mind sees it inside the mind, right? So then who sees the mind, right? Who sees the mind? That is then Chittamataran said, mind sees the mind. Okay, mind sees the mind. And then, Madhyamika, Shantideva is actually refuting by saying, actually mind doesn't see itself. Why? Because actually Buddha said that. In one of the scripture, Buddha said that simgi mitong, mind will not see the mind. So example is the sword, it like the sword, right? The sharp sword will not cut itself. And then another example is, tip of your finger cannot touch by the tips of the finger, right? This tip of the finger is touched by the other tip of the finger, but this tip of the finger, can it touch itself? It cannot touch itself, right? But same thing, your eyes can see others. Like, have you ever seen your eyes? Only the reflection of an eyes you can see in the mirror, right? But nobody see their own eyes, right? Your eye will not see your eye, right? Same thing, the sword will not cut sword itself, not saying other sword. The one sword that will not cut. So the tip of the finger will not touch the tip of the finger. See, this is so it makes sense, right? The Madhyamika says, okay, how can you say that mind can see mind? And so then Chittamataran is they are also making some point. What they say is the example. Chittamataran says, just as light completely illuminates itself, so does the mind knows itself. Now they are giving an example. What do you think? Like, for example, we bring the candle light, right? You bring the candle light, and when you lit the candle light in the dark room, so that light will lead the whole room, right? It lit the whole room. All the darkness will go away. And at the same time, what happened to the candle itself? The light itself become visible, right? So the light made everything visible, as well as it made visible itself, right? It made the light visible. That's actually a good point, right? Because then actually now the Madhyamika has a very good point also there, So they are saying, so when Chittamataran said, just as a light completely illuminates itself, so does the mind knows itself, okay? So Madhyamika said, the light does not illuminate itself. Why? Because something that is to be illuminated has to first of all illuminate it. But as soon as the light is lit, it is never obscured by any darkness. So that is unilluminated. So what do you think? So this, some of the Tibetan master actually made more detail into that, saying that the light doesn't illuminate itself. Why? Because illuminate means, what is meant by illuminate? Illuminate means to make it more clear. So light doesn't have to be illuminated because by nature it is already illuminated. Right? Light is not obscured by darkness. Light itself is not, light is never obscured by the darkness. So then the Madhyamika actually saying, if light is obscured by the darkness, then like darkness also should be obscured by the darkness. So like the darkness makes the darkness dark, or no? So this is a kind of very quantum physics kind of question. It's talking about the light and dark, so maybe this kind of like a analysis happened in the 8th century, way before Einstein. Einstein did a lot of investigation on light and dark, like the dark matter and light matter, and he also said the speed of light, light travels. So this is kind of like if the light is illuminated by the light, right? If it is illuminated by light, then darkness should be darkened by the darkness, right? So if the darkness is darkened by the darkness, meaning, so this is a dark, okay? So then dark actually sort of like obscure this darkness, then this darkness, when the light comes, this disappear, right? So but this will not, because it is kind of covering, the darkness is covering the dark. So darkness is not covering the darkness. That is why light is not lightening. Light, illuminating thing is not illuminating itself. Why? Because darkness is not, making the dark. So this kind of, I don't know, this little bit, very good example. But we all know, right? We all know there's a candle light, I guess if you bring the candle light in the dark room, immediately it makes everything clear, right? So for example, when you switch on the light, everything becomes clear. So this is the, what does it, it illuminate, right? It illuminate, make things clear. Then the question is, then did the light illuminate itself or no? Dark illuminated itself, then Shantideva is saying no, it doesn't. Because if the light, like the illuminated thing illuminated itself, then darkness will dark itself. Then no light can clear the darkness. So that is the point of Shantideva. So anyway, Shantideva is actually saying that mind cannot see mind. But then they are actually saying, take for example 2 kinds of blueness. Actually mind see itself, he's saying, that Chitramatrans are saying. Because blueness does appear in dependence upon another blue color object, like the blue reflect in the clear piece of crystal, right, glass, and blueness that does not appear in dependence upon something else, like the natural color of blue in lapis, like blue stone, There's like a crystal that can be turned by the other light that becomes blue, and then there is some stone that is blue by nature. It doesn't have to, bring a light to make it blue. So that is kind of their example. So that is why all the minds are not, he's saying that, I'm not saying that all the minds see itself, but there is another entity of mind, one piece of mind called the Rangri, self-awareness within the mind, that is like the lapis, the seeing the mind itself like that. So likewise, some objects such as jugs dependent upon the other things such as light that illuminate them and consciousness that know them, whereas such things as light and feelings of pleasure and pain are beheld without any such dependence. So then Madhyamika answer This is not so, because since the blueness of lapis lazuli is established as a blueness as soon as it comes into being, right? Just kind of, it is naturally blue. Nothing made it blue, right? It is not something which previously having not been blue, make itself blue. Therefore, this example is unsuitable to illustrate self-illumination and self-cognition. So conventionally, so number 21, upon being perceived by consciousness, it can be said that light illuminates itself. But ultimately, upon being perceived by what can be said that the mind illuminates itself, thus the example and what it illustrates are not comparable. Since ultimately neither self-cognition nor other cognition are established as truly existent. So no mind at all can behold a truly existent consciousness. Thus it is meaningless to discuss whether such a mind has a quality of illuminating itself or not. This would be like discussing whether the looks of the daughter of a barren woman are attractive or not. So there is no point of arguments, he said. Because there's like there is no like the son of barren. So now you are trying to, check is that good, or, the son of a barren, because the son of barren doesn't exist, right? Like there's no point about arguing, how he looks or how she looks like that. So then Chitra Matran actually said, right? 23. If self-cognition did not exist, how would we be able to have a memory of consciousness? That's another good point, right? So it is like saying, how can we remember things? For example, yesterday, we you saw a flower, and then today you remember, right? You remember that, I saw flower yesterday. So you saw the flower, and that time it seems like that you saw the flower, right? There is somebody seeing that you are seeing the flower, right? Somebody is seeing that you are seeing the flower, and that is why you remember today, the memory. So that means your mind can see, because mind sees that you see. So it is like they are actually saying, so this is the flower, and there's a mind that sees the flower, right? And then there's another mind that sees that you see the flower. If you didn't see that you see the flower, then how can you remember? That's a very good point, right? So that is why there is a somebody or something that is seeing. That is why mind sees itself. So Chitra Matharan's point is sometimes it is very, very strong. Their point is very strong, So now it is Madhyamika is actually giving the answer, the memory, right? Madhyamika, there is no certainty of this. This is not always true, he's saying. Without the consciousness experiencing itself, it is remembered from its relationship to the experience of other objects such as form. For example, although the hibernating bear does not experience being poisoned when bitten by a rat. So this is kind of, I don't know, now we have to go to the zoology thing. Is it true? I don't know, the bear, like the animal bear, they hibernate during the winter, right? So somehow, if they got bitten by a rat, so they get poisoned when they are hibernating. So at that time they are sleeping. And then in the summer, when there is when there is a thunderstorm, and because of the thunderstorm, then their pain will start kind of like, they will feel the pain. And then they will remember that, just kind of like when I was hibernating, that time I was poisoned. So they remember. But that time, they didn't see because they are sleeping. Right? So, I don't know, that happens in our life too, right? Something, if you are poisoned by something, right? Like you are sleeping and you are not aware of anything. and then next day you feel the pain. But that time you didn't see that you got poison, but you remember that you got poisoned that time, right? So that is what the Madhyamika point is saying. You to remember something, you don't have to see that you see. But that's also a very interesting point. For example, if I ask you to remember something, right? To remember something, say like you went to some store. So you went to some store, in the grocery store. So now you remember what do you see, right? What do you see? So that time, how do you see? Like in your image, in your mind image, do you remember only the things that you see, or do you remember yourself like a dream? Like, do you see yourself, or you image? You see like a dream. Some person is going in the, yourself, but in reality you are walking in the grocery store, right? So the next day you're remembering it. How do you remember? You remember going there, right? So when you remember it, do you remember it like a third person or a second person? Right? That's so like we kind of that in the memory, like when we remember. So the dream is little different, right? In your dream, like for example, we all dream. So if I ask you this question, if you tell me what you dream, and you're telling me about your dream, right? So say you're telling me, and then in the dream, is there a person that you identify, or is there you see like like you don't see yourself, but you see everything, but then you assume that I'm there, right? Sometimes it is kind of interesting, right? Because we don't know how we actually see, like in the dream how we see and how we remember in the memory how we see. Is it a two different thing, or is it the same? And but I don't know. Like remembering dream and remembering something real thing that we did yesterday. When we remember in our memory, is it coming same or different? Right? So this the question of remembering the memory is a little bit hard, because when we analyze it, some people say, I remember myself going into the store like I'm the third person. I see myself going into the store. But in a reality, you didn't see yourself going into you didn't see yourself, right? There's no one person behind you looking at you like but you don't remember that. So it's kind of like, I remember going to the store, I remember going to the park yesterday or earlier, and so you just remember the things that you see in the park. You don't see the person yourself going in the park, right? So that means we didn't see ourselves. Right? So this is kind of like Shantideva is kind of like in analyzing like that. So the mind-only school says different. It is different. They say that because you remember. So that means to remember, you have to see, right? If you have to see yourself, then should be like everything that what we remember about our past should be like we experience like a third person, right? Like a third person. There's another person that watching over us, right? It's just kind of like when we are driving, is there somebody outside of the car looking at how we are driving, right? But we remember, oh, yesterday I drove the car, right? But we don't remember it how other people remember you, right? That's different, right? For example, if I see you driving and the car, and then I'm outside, and then when I remember it, or how I remember is okay, I'm the other person, so you are in the car and you drove by. So I remember that way. Then how do I remember myself driving? That's the question. Right? When I drove myself, now I remember, I drove the car yesterday. But we don't see the image of we ourselves in the car looking by the third person. So we remember it as a second person, right? Only direct. So that is why Madhyamika makes sense. So Shantideva is kind of saying, no. I think you are getting it wrong, because memory. When you remember yourself, you don't remember yourself as a third person. You remember as a second person. So if it is true that somebody is watching, if you know yourself, then we should remember everything. Everything should remember like a seen by the third person. But we don't remember. We don't have that image, right? Do you see yourself? If I ask you to imagine that you are driving the car, yes, you can actually imagine it's a third person. So there's a car, and now you can imagine, the person who you say I am is in the car, and then driving, right? So that is kind of but we don't remember that way. But if I tell you to imagine that way, you can. Like, for example, I will say, okay, let us do this, there is a big forest. And I want you to imagine that you are walking in that forest. So if I tell you, so now, how do you see? You see there is one person walking in the forest. That is that you think you, right? And then that time when you are imagining, how you are imagining? You are imagining it as a third person, right? There's a forest, and I want you to, see yourself walking in the forest, and then tell me the thickness of the forest and what kind of forest it is, and then kind of you can imagine that way. That's actually we can do that kind of imagination. There's same thing with the visualization, right? For example, when you visualize yourself as a deity, say in many of the tantric practice, sort of from emptiness, you visualizing yourself, right? You visualizing yourself as a green Tara. So you are visualizing yourself as a green Tara, and that time how you are visualizing? You are visualizing as a, for example, right now, how do I see myself? How do you see yourself? You're not seeing yourself at all. Right? What you see is you're seeing everything around, but you're not seeing yourself. And can you visualize yourself as yourself right now? And that time, what are you visualizing? Is that a difference? You visualizing yourself as a green Tara and you visualizing yourself as this ordinary person? What is the difference between that? If you understand the difference between that, then you will actually understand a little bit better how to visualize. Or, when we say Ranyikiji gi jizun deme kursheng, instantly I arise myself into a green Tara. And at that time, okay, I am green Tara, not as a third person, but as a second person. Like how I am right now, right? How I am, I am in the form of ordinary person, right? When I am functioning in the form of ordinary person, I don't have to see myself how I look. right? Do I have to see? So maybe in the visualization, maybe you don't have to. That's the thing. So many times people make a mistake of visualizing themselves as a deity. There's always like so yourself is somewhere and then you're looking at the deity as a third person, right? And then you're looking at the deity as a third person, then that is imagination. If you're visualizing yourself as a second person or the first person as a green Tara, that is the visualization. That is the visualization. So now, it will help you, because if you are doing some kind of practice, if you're doing, from the emptiness I appear, sort of like so, appear myself into the deity, So are you just imagining, or are you doing the spiritual visualization practice? So the visualization practice should be that you are doing practice, that you are going to, what do you call, as a first person, I think, even not as a second person, because I'm functioning right now as an ordinary person in the as a first person. So if I'm imagining something, then I'm looking at me as a second or third person, right? And then it is like you are watching a movie or, kind of some story. So these are kind of like, sometimes you can take that kind of philosophy when Shantideva, when Shantideva do the analysis like this, how do you see the mind itself, and that will help us to understand some of the highest yoga tantra way of meditation. Like in meditation, how do you experience? If our meditation becomes just an imagination, then I don't know. Then I don't know, like we do a lot of effort in doing this, and then it will not come the good result. The good result is you have to visualize, means sort of like you actually have to identify yourself as the deity as a first person, I think. And then something might change. All right. Okay, so I think we are running out of time, so we should stop here tonight. To the short mandala offering. Then to page 7. Sanje Jindo Mi De Ruaye, Drogo Nanda Shinla Chukarajo, Kamne Beatayami. The back cover page, back last page, dedication prayer. Choye Maya Banja Pyanyam Bhagyo Chodene Yenje Chembe Yera Gyobaye Hende De Sewa Che Parasho Mana Me Bede Badan Jewa Den Jala Me Jiyembe Yewa De Yandro Wa Maluka Shenye Tamba Zembe Yuruno Rave Kove Shinkande Pendande Wa Malu Jungwene Chere Se Wa Tenzin Gyasoye Shabe Se De Padu Den Gyuruchi Keso Samso Dambe Suguye Sanjo Den La Den Be Be Yon Jo No Re Sa Me Be Gu Jong Ba La Da Me Den Be Be Lu Sha De Shu Sem Je Tam Je De Tam Den Yu Ji Yen Do Tam Je Tam Jo Dong Hua Da Cha Ju Sem Ba Ta Na Su Shu Ba Pe Da Kun Ki Mo Lang Ju Yu Ru Chi Chan Ju Sen Ju Rinpoche Ma Ke Pa Na Ke Yu Chi Ke Ba Nyang Ba Me Ba Yang